Hello everyone, and welcome to Time Travel Comics. My name is Leo, and I'll be taking you through a tour of comic books from the past, back issues, and pop culture and nostalgia. It's something that I've always enjoyed. I've always gone on the lookout for interesting treasures and books and seeing different artwork and things that pop. I have to thank Captain Strangelove for turning me on to the video here to explore and show you some of the things in my own collection. Captain Strangelove and I go back a bit, but he's always kind of teased me that I should try a channel and maybe show a couple videos. So I'm glad to do that today, and we'll explore and have fun. I always admire Captain Strangelove's wisdom and know-how about comic books, from packaging to unboxing to shipping, as well as his knowledge about the artist and the chronology of comic books, which doesn't cease to amaze, and that's why he is the captain. And you should subscribe and take a look at his channel if you haven't already. Today I'm going to introduce to you my time machine. It's a time machine that helps me to bring things from the past here into the present. It's a unique device that I've assembled along the way, and I'll be happy to show how that works. It involves this Duncan parking meter and the clock, and also the things in this room. It actually makes it happen and brings time of essence to a stop and then rewind. So I have coins with me, and these coins are just regular coins, but they're all dated from certain times, like 1968 for example. This one's from 1960 and 1970. So what I'll do is put them into our time machine, and because of the carbon footprint and the luster on these coins, we'll be able to see what the past can bring us. So let's try that. I'm going to be putting the coins in the meter here, and I have to put right into here. I'm going to put one crank in, adding some time power here. Adding a little bit more. That one was from 1960, so we'll hope to get something from that era. That should be exciting. And let's put one more coin in. Let's see if we can get another year here. And we'll see what happens. Okay, ready guys? Okay, gotta look right, look left. Whoa! This is what I'm talking about. This comes only when we activate the device, so we're gonna pop the lid and we'll take a look at what we see here. This is a little strange. This item looks a little big and heavy. Let me see if I can pull it out here. It's the Empire State Building. That's odd. The time machine never really tells me what it's going to pull or what it's going to bring, and that's kind of an interesting happening. So we're going to explore an unboxing and see what's inside this particular comic box from the past. I'm going to set this right over here. I'm going to see the contents here. Yeah, it looks like we have some good comic books, some past issues here. We're going to take a look. Oh, there we go. And here they are. Looking through the box from the past, it looks like every issue has a depiction of the Empire State Building, a very iconic building from New York City. So we're going to take a look at Strange Adventures 113, where we could see the Empire State Building right in the background being grabbed up by an alien from outer space. This particular cover is a Gil Kane cover. And Gil Kane also, his real name is Eli Katz. He's of Latvian background. And he is also noted for producing 560 plus covers that include Strange Adventures, as this issue here, as well as the Green Lantern, Batman, and also has dabbled in work for Marvel and DC. Gil Kane has a very distinct line work, as you could see by large-eyed aliens and other covers that you might see, like a Mystery in Space. You'll notice some similarities in the characters. You can also note the people in the boat, in the details, in the shade work, and it just really pops from the 1960. This book was published in February of 1960. The writing for this story is by Gardner Fox. Gardner Fox is a very prolific writer of the Silver Age time. He also created Justice League of America, which is one of his most popular creations. Also, the penciling work that's done inside the comic, so we'll take a look and see as we open it up. You can see the monster there, is by Carmine Infantino. He is credited with being not only a penciler, but he was a writer, an inker, and also an executive editor in 1966. And he's best known for his creation of The Flash, who appeared in Showcase number 4 in 1956. So you can just see the colors and the splash work, and just a great book overall. And you can even see some of the details right into here. So that's the Gil Kane cover, Empire State theme. So moving along with our theme of Empire State Building looks, let's see here. We have another copy of Strange Adventures. This time this is number 134 from 1961. And you can see a lot going on here. It looks like an alien being controlled by two people right here maybe. They're taken over and see lasers flying and tentacles grabbing up major buildings such as the UN, the Yankee Stadium, the Brooklyn Bridge, and kind of compiling on top of a ledge here that's floating in space. So this is the dreamlike wild fantasy sci-fi, and it's appropriately titled The Aliens Who Raided New York. So 1960s was characterized by space travel and alien lore, and also the perception of the future that we might make first contact with the great beyond and aliens. So this cover was completed by Murphy Anderson, and Murphy Anderson has a long-standing history with DC Comics. He created Adam Strange, a space-like character, and he did this with Julius Schwartz. And Murphy Anderson and Schwartz presented the character Adam Strange in Showcase number 17, and that was in 1958. If we take a look here, this is a very beat-up copy. Again, you could see the Empire State Building. You could see some cover damage. It's incomplete. A lot of rust and wonderful. Captain Strangelife teases me, and I love collecting low-grade books because it's a way to complete the collection, especially since the comic books are going up in price, as you might see on eBay and other websites and even in the stores themselves. So you can kind of see the action here. But this book, once you open the pages and get into the goodness, it is nice and sweet. But this is a low-grade Leo Fine, as I kind of refer to it here. You can see how the separation is, and pretty beat up in the back, some chew marks, some rust marks, some tape, and some creases there. Probably less than a 0.5. And I know a lot of comic book admirers, they want to make sure they get their high grades. And I just like the low grades. I think that they're have a certain vintage rustic look to them. This one's obviously seen better days, but I'd like to say that it was well loved. Yeah, the next book that shows the Empire State Building on the cover is also from Strange Adventures. This particular book is from August of 1972. You can notice the Empire State Building dismantling from the ground and chasing the locals there with the airplanes whizzing by. This cover was produced during the Bronze Age, so what that means is around the 70s in the era of comics, by Ernie Chan. And he had a long tenure with DC Comics, but before then he also worked with John Buscema and his brother Sale in artwork for Conan, the series. But he did some work here. This is in the later run of this particular book, Strange Adventures, and it's actually a reprint of the skyscraper that came to life that first appeared in Strange Adventures number 72. So we could take a look here, and you can see the artwork of the buildings and the shading and the shadow and the darkness and the people in the foreground. It really comes to life, and you could feel the energy that goes on, the movement with the wires tangling, the bridge uprooting, and people talking about it. So the artwork, it tells a story in of itself. Now, I don't have Strange Adventures number 72, but I have a variant from Mexico, and this particular one is the same cover, designed by Ruben Moreira, and his background is from Puerto Rico, and he did a lot of this nice line work and detail, and you can kind of see how the people are in the covers and the background. And rascacielos means skyscraper, because the cielo is the sky, and scraping is to this one right there, the verb connotating that. And you can kind of see how that cover really looks good. So just comparing the Empire State cover theme that we have going on today, right now. The next book is another DC book, but not Strange Adventures. I'll give you a break from that one, but we'll go to Mystery in Space. Mystery in Space, this is number 42. This came out in February, March of 1958. One of our coins had 1958 on it, so that's where we're seeing some of that. And you can see right smack dab in the middle, the Empire State Building, so yet another building cover. And this one's called Secret of the Skyscraper Starship. And you can see the lettering there, which is very iconic for that time. Very nice pop letters. And this is actually another Gil Kane cover. And if we compare the first cover we saw with Gil Kane, you can see some resemblance of the two creatures. They're kind of similar, but they're two different creatures from when we saw the earlier one versus the other one, a little side-by-side comparison there. So this particular book was also penciled by Carmine Infantino, and the writer was Ed Herron. Ed Herron has an interesting history because he goes back to Marvel Comics' predecessor, Timely Comics, where he did a lot of writing for that transitional Golden Age, Silver Age Marvel. And one of the particular creations of Ed Herron, who wrote this book, was the Red Skull, who's a famed antagonist to Captain America. He eventually worked for DC, as we see here, and also Harvey Comics, before he passed away in 1966. But you can take a look here of the goodness of that building, and look at that spaceship view as well. Seeing the colors, the shading, the block art. Back in the time when everything was hand-drawn and inked according on top of the graphite. And it just makes for such nice original artwork. Nothing computer generated there. And you can see the movement and the rocket flare and the swoosh, and just makes for yet another terrific Empire State Building cover. Okay. Couple more books in the queue here in our time capsule box, a comic box from another time, and this is Kamandi, The Last Boy on Earth. This is a creation by the one and only Jack Kirby. This came out in October, November 1972 when it was on the comic book carousels at your local pharmacy. And you get another Empire State Building cover along with kind of a post-apocalyptic New York. So this individual has to kind of save himself and survive, and it's a story that was not only written but penciled and edited all by Jack Kirby. I'd like to show you the interior of the book, where we'll see a big spread, a 2-page spread right here. This was all rendered by Jack the King Kirby, and you can see how his work was very expansive and advanced, and covered a lot of that fantasy and beauty that he worked very hard through his career with. So this is a gem of a Jack Kirby. also an Empire State themed book. Kamandi. It's the #1 issue. It's kind of a mid to lower grade, probably a 4.0. So in my defense, I'm not completely low grade in my selection. And I'll put this one aside for the final one in our box that has another building cover. And this time it's the Star Wonder Woman. Yeah, this particular issue is Wonder Woman number 136, as we can get that up there so we can see it. Issue number 136 was released in 1963 and is titled The World's Mightiest Menace. And she's depicted as a menace even though she's a hero. And she's asking for her boyfriend Steve to help her, who works in the military, as she grows out of control. This particular cover is a beautiful cover by Ross Andrew. Ross Andrew was also the penciler of this particular book, and he too had a prolific career like Jack Kirby, because his artwork and career spanned more than 60 years. He also worked with Marvel titles that included the Spider-Man issues. He perfected the rooftop battles and would take pictures of his own just to see the skyline so he could study it and render it accurately in the Spider-Man battles of the mid-run of the first volume. He's also considered the co-creator of The Punisher, as he was involved with the artwork there, and closely worked with his friend and fellow inker Mike Esposito. The two of them were inseparable. A lot of Ross Andrews' works were inked by Mike Esposito. And you can see here this cover from 1963. It just shows the wonder of his line work and just how you can have smaller figures in the foreground and a big figure in the background. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful depiction there as the camera sharpens in on Wonder Woman. And this is it's a lower grade book, a reader copy by definition here. Altogether a good, maybe a good minus, but that's how I kind of roll with the low grades but the goodies. Well, thank you for joining me today as we took a blast to the past and took a glimpse of some of these Silver Age goodies. It's always interesting to see the different artists, the history behind it, and what they've created over the years. So my goal is to preserve as much of this as I can and to educate you all on some of the artwork and artists behind the work and just identify some things in the past. There's our time machine, and oh, there's an Empire State Building right there with a clock on it. Yeah, it's meant to be. Until next time, thank you for watching this video. Look forward to doing more. A shout out to Captain Strangelife. Great content over there, and a wonderful community also. If you like what you saw today, please give a thumbs up and leave a comment in the section below if there's anything you want to see.